we've got a couple guests that we're going to have a conversation with today that we had a conversation with before. And I've got requests to follow up with you all. There were a lot of comments. We did our conversation before and recorded it. We had a lot of comments about, interesting comments too, about your bravery of coming over and what you know, other people read into what your life is going to be like over here. And so you've ventured back down to the beach, and it was great to catch up again. We had a conversation before we came over, but I wanted to get you on record here to talk a little bit about your experience. Now, how long has it been since we did that last video?
We're here.
The video was
in March.
During our first month, I think, within 3
Yeah.
Yeah, we came on March the 2nd, and I think we shot the video before the month was over. We were still living down in Hua Hin at the time, and we've since moved to Chiang Mai, and have been living there ever since April 1st, essentially. So we're now down visiting some friends down here in Hua Hin.
So about 5.5 months since
about a little over 6
had our
months.
last
Okay,
chat.
so you're half a year into your adventure here. Total, how long since you first came in the country? 8 months?
We're hitting.
7. This is 7,
yeah,
right?
This is 7. That's right. I have my 90-day
Right.
check-in next week.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, but that's because you took a
Because
trip.
I had a trip home.
Ah, okay.
So we're 7 months here.
Okay, so we know what you felt like. You were all excited. You'd never been here before when you first came over.
That's exactly right. It was our
And you
first
made
trip.
the big leap.
Yep.
And you came over and you were all excited and all happy and everything was great. So now, over a half a year into this, and now you're living in Chiang Mai up in the north, tell everybody about how you feel about Thailand. The same things we covered before. I mean, it was about the cost of living here, the safety elements, the people, and what it's like as a woman living in Thailand too. Those were the sort of the topics we covered before.
Yeah, I remember. Sure.
Yeah. Go ahead. You start.
I'm going to start. Okay. So when we first began to talk with you after our first 3 weeks in the country, we were ecstatic and thought things were better. We had anticipated good things. We thought they were better in real life than we thought they were going to be. And now, after 7 months, I'd say that they're better than that. I would say we really are happier almost every day than the day before. We've had more experiences, met more people, have more friendships, and
RCA membership and friendships has been a big part of our life here.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we
Sure.
just had lunch, and that was one of the things we were talking about. You mentioned that you came over and immediately had a support group.
It's been a really outstanding support group. We enjoy socializing, but we also help each other out. When somebody needs a ride somewhere to the airport maybe, or they need some help with some ideas about how to deal with their 90-day check-in, we all share different ideas together and really help each other along.
Well, it's as simple as where do I get a coffee pot, and I mean the very simple things in life.
Yeah.
What kind of store should I be going to find a specific medication or whatever? Do you have any recommendations? And someone has experienced what you need to be solved, and they're more than willing to share what that is. And the other thing I guess we find is that Thai people are unbelievably helpful. So we're kind of brave. We walk into the stores alone and speak virtually no Thai. And between their ability to speak English and their just general willingness to help, we find things get solved very quickly. People will be in a store and will ask for some help in finding something that their store doesn't carry, and they'll immediately walk out from behind the counter and walk us to another place in the mall, introduce us to someone who does carry it, and then thank us for the opportunity for them to take us there.
That's just like back home, right?
Exactly, yeah, no difference at all. So
It's interesting what you say about that, because now we've had members on our member side. I think we're going on almost 4 years, and we actually have some members that came at the beginning and are still members. And that says something for, I think they came initially for information
Right.
of how to do this, but then they stay because of exactly what you talk about. And once people come over and experience that, you know, the people that they've had communication with already, that they sort of know and have something in common with, you actually get to spend time with those people, and they're just as helpful in real life as they were in the member
precisely.
site.
Sure. Well, this week we're down in Hua Hin on vacation because one of the members that we became friendly with up in Chiang Mai moved to Hua Hin. He's now on vacation for a week in Phuket, and said, why don't you come down and use my apartment at the beach, because I'm not going to be there, and we're friends. So he gave us keys, and we're here for a week.
That's not hard
And
to take.
no, it really isn't. Yeah. So, and he's with another member down in Phuket for the week. So, the camaraderie and the teamwork basically that happens with people willing to help each other out, it's just sensational.
So for some people watching on YouTube, they're not part of our membership or something.
Right.
If you didn't have that, now I know you've mentioned, and you mentioned at lunch, that's been a big thing. If
Yeah.
you didn't have that and you had come over, would your experience be okay? Or, I mean, would you still be here? Or?
Yes, I think we'd still be here, JC. I just think the transition would not have been as comfortable and as smooth.
Or as quick.
Yes.
Yeah. But yes, absolutely. One of the reasons for that is that we've chosen Chiang Mai, first Hua Hin and now Chiang Mai, where there is basically a fairly large population of foreigners. And when they're not hard to spot. You know, and when you find yourself in a restaurant or a store and you see a foreigner, they're very quick to respond to you, unlike in the United States where people do not meet each other's eyes and don't initiate contact.
Good point.
People here will look at each other and start conversations. We go to dinner often and see one guy at one table, another at another, and another at a third, and all of a sudden all three are sitting at one table and trading stories, and one may be from Australia, and one from England, and one from Sweden, and they don't all have perfect English, but they have a common bond that they're in a foreign country. So it's very easy to meet people, it's very easy to get support, and it's very easy to get answers. What we got, I guess, from the videos in the early stages was a sense of how life works, what things cost, what we could accomplish with a certain amount of money, and what our options would be. And those realities are every bit what we expected them to be. There have been no surprises in that sense, I would say. Wouldn't you?
No, I mean, but we also watched all your videos.
A lot.
A lot. You know, we really didn't want to have a stone unturned before we got here. We wanted to take as much of you as we could.
I think that's what gave us the initial
It
courage.
gave us the initial courage, and it also allowed us to really be prepared for what we were going to expect here. And to know that it's not a perfect place, that there are things that you can find, you know, that you might not like, but you really need to focus on the things that are positive about the experience, and not look at all the negatives. So but we were prepared because you would show us, you know, exactly what the landscape looked like.
That's sort of the way it's set up, is to watch YouTube videos and see if the overall picture is something that's appealing, the price of things, the attitude of people, and all that. The financial aspect is a lot of it.
Right.
And then the next step is, well, if you're really serious about this, then you really need to know all those details of what it's going to be like to live here, which is what the member site really is about. All the videos and the postings on there is really the nitty-gritty of what it's like to live here. Plus, you all get to see me interact with people every week in real time, unrehearsed, so you get to understand what it's like socially. And then we also have a product that's the 30-day program to say, okay, now if you really decide to do this, let's help you pack up and come over. And sort of that's
which we use.
Which you all use,
To good effect, for sure.
And so that's sort of the way, so hopefully at some point, you know, either people say, well, no, this isn't going to be it, or they make it over and check it out. And you mentioned something just a second ago that I'd like you to mention more about, because Mike, one of our other members, brought this up at lunch about a week or so ago, is that he found that back home in the States, he wouldn't have interacted with such an international community.
Yes.
That now he has friends from so many different countries and stuff, and he thinks it's broadened his own, I don't know what the word would be, it's broadened him as a human being to be more acceptable of other cultures.
Sure, yeah, because you become exposed to philosophies and cultures that aren't your own. Not only are you introduced to the Thai culture, but you're dealing with Europeans who have a whole different worldview than Americans do.
Canadians.
So some of our friends now we've got friends that are Welsh, we've got friends that are English, Australian,
Wow.
Canadians,
Yes.
which are, so it adds a great deal of exposure and interest. So every day you wake up in the morning, you don't know who you're going to be meeting and what you're going to be doing and what you're going to be talking about. And so life is just much more vital and much more interesting and much more, it's richer than life back at home, where I really felt as if most people wind up in a fairly narrow channel. They see the same people most of the time, they live in the same neighborhood, they do the same things day in and day out. We don't have a lot of reproduced days. We have a lot of variety, and we have a lot of exposure to people we didn't know and things we had never seen. And it's very stimulating, it's very exciting. We find ourselves getting up very early in the morning, not wanting to roll over and get a little more sleep and avoid starting the day. We want to get up and watch the dawn and then do something. It's just a very dramatic thing.
You brought something up at lunch that I'd like you to say something about too. That neither one of you all have watches on. Because you mentioned something like that at lunch when we were eating, that about getting up when you want, but you're getting up earlier. And I said, well, you don't have any watches on. And did you have watches on back home? And what was your answer, your response to that?
We both wore watches when we lived in the
And
States.
we're very time driven.
And we had clocks on every appliance and every room in the
practically
house.
every room. We neither own a watch nor a clock in our family. We have no clocks anywhere in the apartment. Even the microwave we have does not have time on it.
Wow.
But
If we're really desperate to know, we'll pull out a cell phone because we want.
How do you feel about that?
I love
It's
it.
lovely. It's
I love it.
wonderful.
And I haven't had a pair of long pants on since I was in the United States. I'm in sandals every day. It's really terrific. The other thing, you asked how things were going and did we have the same kind of feelings. I guess one of the significant things is Adele's sister, who's older than Adele and is living alone. Why don't you talk about your sister?
My sister decided that making the move to Thailand was the right decision for her as well. So since she came here in July, and she used the Making the Move checklist as well.
Right.
And she is extremely happy about being here.
Highly independent,
Yeah.
very quick to interact with other people, finding ways to interact with Thais, even though she speaks absolutely no Thai.
She's working on it.
She's having a really good time, and
Real
so
positive
that's a
attitude.
woman alone, Western woman alone in Thailand, who's finding it very easy, very comfortable, very safe for her.
Safety was a major issue.
And now, from our perspective,
And there's an addition to that as well.
Yes.
One more,
which
go
is
ahead.
Our youngest son has applied to and been accepted by Bangkok University's International College, and in January he will start here, living in Bangkok, and he can do 4 years, one can do 4 full years of tuition in Bangkok for less than the cost of 1 year at a state university in the United States. So he's very excited to be able to graduate without student loans.
Yeah.
And the college has 1,000 international students from 50 countries. And so we think the value, the cultural exchange of living in that kind of a situation adds an immense value to
Absolutely.
his education and will serve him well in a career.
The life
And
experience.
socially.
Absolutely.
The life experience is priceless as far as we're
Absolutely.
concerned. So we feel the country's very safe. Yeah.
And your home and your family's going to
We're
be
becoming
here.
we're becoming magnets for the family, we think. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you don't just have the RCA as your family, but
Right.
you also
No,
have
we
your
have
own
our own
family.
family.
Yeah, that's
Exactly
cool.
right.
Wow.
And the other thing is, people find Adele more interesting in the family now than she used to be in the United States, right?
Yeah, well, I didn't have much of a life back in.
Yeah, it was work, sleep,
It was
eat,
work, sleep, eat.
go to sleep,
Yeah.
go
That's
back
what
to
most
work.
people's lives are back
Yeah,
then.
exactly. And now it's, you know, it's the adventure of the day. Wake up in the morning. What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? What do you want to see?
You get bored?
No. I'm just trying to think of a moment when I might have been bored. If we get bored, it's on us.
Yeah.
It's not because there isn't something to do or someone to do it with. It's because
We've decided we want to take a day off from.
Yeah, once in a
from
while.
the adventure.
Yeah.
What are we doing today? Nothing!
Nothing. That's exactly right.
Nobody to see.
There are times when we actually say, you know, I think we'll be alone tonight. You know, let's make a decision to be alone
Why don't you
tonight.
get a
We
full
won't-
social
We
calendar?
won't do anything.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. And now we're on vacation this week, and I looked at Adele and said, how does one become on vacation from
When
being,
you're on
being
vacation
on
every
vacation
day,
all
yeah.
the time in Thailand?
That's right.
Yeah.
It's just a different view.
Yes, yeah, all it does is change. Now there's ocean instead of mountains. And that's the dramatic change for us.
And how are your finances going? Are you meeting your budget that you originally set?
Absolutely.
Yes.
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 And
Even with your
in
full
large
social
part-
calendar?
Even with our full social calendar, that's exactly right, sure. We have a mix of Western restaurants that we like to go to and Thai restaurants. And any time that we feel that we're spending too much money, usually it's because we're in too many Western situations. We happen to love Thai food, always did. Thai food here is a little different than it is in the United States.
Yes, it is.
It's a little spicier, it's a little bit less, I don't know, dumbed down, I guess you would say. It's a little more vital in this country. It's fresher,
Yeah.
and so it's very inexpensive. You can control your costs just by how you choose to eat. That's, of course, one of the dominant things. If you rent properly, then, you know, we don't really... I haven't bought a piece of clothing in 7 months. Adele has, because she's cute and
I
likes
just
to
like
look
to
good.
have a little variety.
It's genetic.
Yeah, exactly. But
But we
I
really
don't feel
haven't.
the need. You know, we've got a laundry service that turns it around in one day for
Which I
30
love.
baht a kilo. Oh, yeah.
I love
Yeah. When-
not having to wash my own clothes and
or mine, for that matter.
and they come back beautiful. They're folded,
Folded.
ironed and folded, and it's about less than 35 baht
A kilo.
that we're paying. So,
So we're in love.
there's no point in doing that.
Yeah, no
Exactly.
point.
No.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I think one of the things that we would say is from not only from the YouTube videos, which portray a lot of cost options, but also from the member site, we did have a very strong expectation of what costs were going to be here, and I have to say they were totally realistic. So we don't have surprises. And
Yeah, and the forum on the member site, members have asked those questions specifically, you
Right,
know, of other
sure.
members in wherever they plan on actually living, Chiang Mai or at the beach, what does it cost?
cost? Sure.
And because different people have different lifestyles, other than mine, you get a good variety of answers.
sure.
And that's really good about the member site giving you that support group up in the north too, because again, you all come over and like he said, everybody has a different experience that you can draw from.
Sure.
Definitely.
I mean, right down to a choice of hospitals, for example. Chiang Mai is rich in hospitals. It has many
Yes, it
options.
is.
It has many options. And there are cost differences.
Yes,
and
there
there
is.
are some differences in terms of the speed of service. I think in general the healthcare is excellent no matter where you choose to go. But the service is a little bit different from one hospital to another. And surely we will find a member who has experienced a certain doctor or a certain clinic or one of the hospitals and can make a recommendation. And that's very valuable.
It's-
It really is very valuable.
You bring up a good point. Everybody has had such good experiences that they're all like, well, you got to go see my dentist.
Yeah,
He's
you
the
gotta
best.
see- oh, yeah, we have competing dentists.
No, mine's better.
Absolutely true.
You know, so it's very interesting. Once they find either a taxi driver, sometimes they'll find that has a lot of information to share about the Thai culture and things like that. There was a member that developed a real relationship with a taxi driver that took him
Took
all
them there
over.
for 3 days at one point, yeah.
I know
Thailand.
some members actually have like a designated driver.
Yeah,
They got like a,
exactly.
almost
Sure.
like a chauffeur that's
Exactly.
on call.
Yeah,
Right.
we have one member
It
who
fits in their
comes-
budget.
He comes to a Sunday morning meeting. When he comes out of his apartment, there's a tuk-tuk driver waiting. He knows what time the weekly meeting is and that Dave's going to come out, and then takes him to the
Amazing.
takes him
Yeah.
to the meeting every week. So yeah, so it's a very rich experience for us, and a very cost-controlled experience. We have gone over our budget one month or another, but always by choice. We'll decide we're going to do something to splurge,
Right.
maybe go to a different
Birthday celebration.
birthday celebration or something like that.
Or
and spend a
we'll
little
decide that we
extra
want to
money.
go to an elephant camp. You know, those are more costly things to do.
Especially if you go to the ones that aren't
Right, the
commercial,
real
you know.
non-commercial that are really focused on rehabilitating
Right.
the elephants, where it's not a, they don't have,
Exploitation situation.
yeah, it's not an exploitation situation. Those can be more expensive because they're not making money on rides,
Right.
riding the elephants and so
Yeah.
forth. But it's nice to be able to do that once in a while too.
Mhm.
But they can be a little bit more expensive.
People had commented, people have these weird concepts of what life's going to be like, and there were some negative comments saying, "Oh, as a relationship, this will never work once you come
Oh
to
yeah,
Thailand."
absolutely. Here we're gonna get
You
divorced.
remember that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So how has your relationship fared over here?
We're still together.
Yeah, we kind of still like each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
To take that question really seriously, when I was retired before Adele left work. And when Adele was working, we probably had one quality hour a day during the work week, because she was, in a very high stress, very professional job, and so life was reduced to a relatively small piece of time that was available for us as a couple. Now, we actually have to make a decision not to be together. We're together all the time. And so she'll look at me and say, I think tomorrow I'm going to go over to Ann's house and spend some time with her. And, yeah, good, that'd be a good idea. So we make choices not to be together because we can always be together.
Is that a good thing or a
It's a
bad thing?
wonderful thing.
A wonderful
Yeah, it's a
thing.
wonderful thing. We're ecstatic.
It gives us a chance to have something
To
to
share.
share.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Sure.
Because if you're around 24 hours a day, you
Oh, no,
already
yeah,
know.
right, right. Well, yeah, so we
it's
make
a
the
good thing.
choice. But I guess what the real positive is, it's the fact that she's always available, and that's terrific, because lack of availability was painful for us.
Well, and physically painful.
And physically
for me.
painful for you.
Well,
And
that brings up something I want to ask you. How's your all's health? I mean, compared to back home, because now you're talking about not wearing a watch.
Oh, yeah,
You're waking up
sure.
because you want to. You're excited about your
Right.
day and stuff. Has it affected your health in any way?
I've always been pretty healthy and still feel totally healthy. I've only seen a doctor once in this country, and that was to get a certification so that I could go get my driver's license, not because I was sick. Adele has a fairly serious case of rheumatoid arthritis,
Yeah.
which she's being treated by a rheumatologist at a good hospital in
Oh, good.
Chiang Mai, very professionally and to good effect. I really feel like you've
There's
had
been
some positives. There's still a lot of pain.
It's a disease that's not going to go away
Yeah,
just
it's
because I'm
tough.
going to have a different location. But the thing is that because I don't have to use my hands and my wrists to work on a computer day in and day out for hours every day, I do experience less pain.
And the
because
reduction in stress from not having that
Yeah.
kind of career is very positive. And the other thing, we have a pool where we live. She can go in the water, which seems to help her.
it's-
And we can take a nap. She can
Yeah.
say, "This is bothering me. I need some rest," and just make the choice to do that. It's the flexibility and freedom. So
Right.
yeah, I would say it's had a very positive effect on.
Yeah,
on
stress
adults.
increases the inflammatory response,
Yeah.
so if
Right.
you can
Yeah,
reduce that.
so we
that-
see quite a difference from that. It's never going to go away, but
Yeah.
it's.
But we're all getting older, something's
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah,
So there's always
certain
something.
things that
That's
are
true.
just not.
So has anything not lived up to your expectations?
I can't really think of
I-
anything. If there are some things that we still have goals to do. One of the expectations is that we really wanted to travel around the country more. We've chosen to live in a very nice apartment, and it's very comfortable.
And we signed a 1-year lease.
And we signed a 1-year
So
lease, so we're kind of a little bit anchored.
We're traveling less than we expected, and it's our fault.
Yeah.
So we are
So we may-
constantly in conversation. Our lease is up in June. We're constantly in conversation about what do we do when the lease is over? Will we do a series of short-term leases and make sure we see some of these other cities? We feel that we will start now to see some cities closer to Chiang Mai, try to do the Chiang Rais and the Pais and the Paiaos and things like that. We feel like we know them from the videos, but
Good
we
idea,
definitely
though.
want to go to them. Yeah, so circle that area. And then perhaps when the lease is over, we may come south for a while and then explore the southern part of Thailand.
Interesting you said that. It made a distinction to me when you said that about comfort. I love to travel, and it's one of the benefits when I thought about doing what I do is the benefit of traveling. But you know what you say about being, happy to get up in the morning and spend time together and all that stuff. I think some of the traveling was because I was the love of travel was because I wasn't happy where I was at.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go find something
Right.
new and something
Kind
to
of an
fulfill something that was missing. And I find it harder and harder as I really appreciate where I live
Right.
to move, to go someplace. It's like, oh,
Yeah, I gotta stop
I'm
doing
so
this.
comfortable and I really am so happy I'm going to go someplace else. Even though I love to travel, sometimes staying home is really a good thing,
Yes,
because I'm
for
just
sure.
so happy every day. It's a
Yeah.
good thing.
It's true.
It's a quality problem to have.
One of the things I had said to Adele was, when I was knowing we were going to come here, I said, I'm not going to go from temple to temple to temple. I'm not going to get involved in that kind of a situation. And now I find myself dragging her from temple to temple.
Really?
Oh yeah, and she's
Yeah.
not a reluctant companion. She likes it as much as I do.
Some of them,
Some of the
go ahead.
some of the experiences and the emotional response that you have to seeing some of these structures and their age and the obvious, incredible emotional commitment that it took to create these wonderful facilities, these temples, back to 1100 and 1300 and
And the
it's-
devotion
Yeah,
that
exactly.
you see
Sure.
in the culture to the temples.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it's wonderful to walk around a very crowded, noisy city, and then you walk into temple grounds and it's
you one block off
it's
of a
quiet.
busy street
You don't-
and it's
you don't hear the
immediately
traffic.
peaceful and
You hear the birds singing
wonderful.
and
So we're finding
and
that
Chiang
very-
Mai is one of the highest areas of temples, I should say, tourist temples,
yes.
which people come specifically to see. It's part of the tour groups and everything.
Right.
Yeah, I understand
And it-
there's about 300 temples.
Yeah,
in
there's
Chiang
about
Mai.
300. So if you
Yeah.
get away from, say, the handful 5 major ones, and you go into some of those temples, you can walk into the main hall, the main temple,
Yes.
Yes.
and you can sit down there, and the ambiance of the spiritual presence
Yes.
in the building, you can just sit there and just soak it in. It's such a relief, like you say, from some of the
Overstimulation.
yeah, that's a good word, overstimulation of the city, and it's something that I really, really appreciate.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people go in, and it's like a standard tourist kind of thing. Look around, oh yeah, that's pretty.
cool,
Oh, you
that's
see
great,
one
yeah.
temple, you see them all, another
Yep.
Buddha,
Right.
But if you actually go in and sit and be in that quiet space, it's really a spiritual experience.
Absolutely, sure. Well, I'll tell you something interesting. When we have a couple of favorite temples that we really like very much, and when we meet new people, we often will introduce those temples to them. And when we're done showing them the temple, we almost immediately know whether we're going to be friends or not.
Really?
Sure.
Interesting.
Yeah, based on what
Based on
kind
their
of
reaction.
reaction they have.
Yeah.
There's an immediate, there's either an immediate response or there isn't. And if there isn't, then it's unlikely that we're going to
As-
find a lot of common ground,
Yeah.
I think would be a way of saying that. So, yeah, it's
And one of the
traumatic.
members one of our favorite temples so much that he started showing other people, other members, the temple before we got
Before we got
to.
there, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you gotta be careful what you share here, you know, because it'll change
Exactly
the
right.
whole ambiance
Yeah.
of the
Oh,
place.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't publicize.
Yeah, there's some things, it's like I find some place that I really like the way it is, I don't want it to change, and
Sure.
of course you have an
Yeah.
influence, especially now with social networking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You can say something, they say something, all of a sudden you show up the next week and there's a crowd there, it's like, what
Everybody's-
happened?
What happened?
You know?
Yeah, to my quiet retreat over here. So-
Well, it's really great. I'm really glad that you sat down with me and shared your experience and how you're doing now, and it's really great. I think a lot of people have questions, say, can you go do follow-ups with some of these people that you talk to?
Sure.
And sometimes it's rare. I don't have contact with those people anymore or something, and it's great to be able to catch up with you all, especially as a couple. There's a lot of couples that are in situations back home that are thinking about, could we do this? So your experience is priceless for that, you know, to see if there's options.
It's fun. We should do it again in 6 months if the relationship lasts.
Yeah, we'll put that on the calendar. Yeah, set your watch. All right.
So far, so good.
Don, it's
Thank
been
you,
a pleasure to
Stacy.
catch up again.
our
Adele, it's so
pleasure.
nice to get to chat again and see y'all. It's you know, that's the thing, and we talked about this at lunch too. We have the movie The Map for Saturday. If you've never seen it, you ought to check it out. But it's one of those things where it's one of the dynamics of travel and being a traveler is that you meet people and you instantly have something in common because you're doing something out of the norm.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you make these connections and these friendships, and then all of a sudden it's the nature of the situation here, because people aren't tied down anymore. They do have freedom that they'll go off and leave, and there goes your buddies.
That's exactly
Right. We've
right.
had a number of friends
Number of events like
move
that
out
in
of
this
January.
relatively short period of time. But the second hand of that is the advantage is then we have friends scattered around the country.
That's right.
So
That's
when
right.
we go somewhere, we have a contact point, and that's pretty positive. I
Yeah,
think.
that's a good
So,
thing.
Yeah, so we feel really good about that.
Well,
So
thanks.
it's a little bit of a bittersweet kind of a situation. Sad they're leaving, but glad, to be able to touch base again.
Perfect. Well, thanks again for
Thank you.
sharing.
Thank you for everything
Yeah,
that
and for the website,
you did for us.
life is wonderful.
Thanks. Well, good. I'm glad I could be of service.
I appreciate it.
All right.
All right. Well, there you go. So, as you can see, they're happy. It's still together, and everything's good. So, hope it's been helpful. And remember, when it comes to living someplace, even in times of turmoil, there's always an option. See ya.